All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to completely shatter everything you thought you knew about inflation. Seriously, what actually happens to your money when you just let it sit there? Well, we've all been taught this very specific, kind of rigid set of rules, right? Work hard, be responsible, and above all else, save your money. But today, we're popping the hood on the economy. We're looking at the exact nuts and bolts mechanics of what's happening just under the surface. And I promise you, by the end of this, you are never, ever going to look at your bank balance the same way again. I want you to just sit with this thought for a second. What if everything you knew about saving was actually making you poorer? Crazy, right? I mean, we're literally conditioned to feel this immense sense of security when we stash our money away for a rainy day. We lock it up in a vault, check the account app, and think, phew, I'm safe. But what if that safety is just a total illusion? What if the very act of hoarding cash, following that classic financial advice your grandparents swore by, is exactly what's draining your financial lifeblood? To really get this, I want you to picture this incredibly visceral, maybe even a little shocking metaphor. Your bank account is a melting ice cube. Imagine you take this perfectly solid, heavy block of ice, and you just set it on a table in a warm room. You don't touch it, you don't chip away at it, you just let it sit. Now, at first glance from across the room, it looks completely unchanged, but slowly, silently, drop by drop, it's turning into a puddle. And guys, this is exactly what's happening to your stagnant savings. You aren't spending the money, sure, but the actual substance of your wealth, it is literally dissolving right in front of you. So if your wealth is just melting away like that, we really have to ask, do you know who the invisible thief actually is? Now, most textbooks, they're going to give you this remarkably dry, super boring definition. They'll say, oh, it's just rising prices, or it's a natural market fluctuation. But come on, that completely glosses over reality. Someone, or rather some massive force, is actively reaching into your pocket and taking that value. It's not just that your morning coffee costs more. It's that the money you worked so incredibly hard to store away is actively being stripped of its power. It is a silent heist, and it's happening in broad daylight. Section 1. The Decoder Ring. Nominal versus real numbers. Okay, so let's dive into this. We need to reveal the core mathematical mechanism that actually allows this invisible theft to happen right under your nose. To understand this heist, you've got to decode the two languages of money. The whole system relies on you only speaking one of them, but today we're going to teach you how to translate the truth. First up, we have real numbers. This represents the actual purchasing power of your money after adjusting for all those hidden effects of inflation. This is the absolute, unvarnished truth. It's what you can actually put in your grocery cart. It's the house you can actually buy, the vacation you can actually take. The real numbers strips away all the smoke and mirrors to show you the exact strength of your wealth out in the physical world. Now, on the other side of the coin, we have the nominal value. This is just the number printed on your bank statement. It's that little number glowing on your smartphone screen when you open your banking app. Contrast that with the real value we just talked about, what that number can actually buy you out in the world. Just think about the price of a gallon of milk, or hey, a cup of coffee just 5 years ago compared to today. The physical $10 bill in your wallet, it still says $10. It never goes down. And that right there is the nominal illusion. You feel safe because that nominal number stays exactly the same, but that number is lying to you by omission. The real number, your actual purchasing power, well, that tells the true story of your melting ice cube. Section 2, Path A. Julia's 30-year trap. All right, let's move from theory to practice. Let's follow a saver named Julia to see how this whole thing plays out in real life over a long chunk of time. Now, Julia represents the ultimate responsible citizen, right? She does exactly what society, her parents, and all those traditional financial advisors told her to do. She works hard, avoids debt like the plague, and diligently saves a piece of her paycheck every single month. Let's trace her 30-year journey. Year 1, she starts saving. She's feeling a massive sense of pride and accomplishment. Her nominal balance is ticking up nicely. But by year 15, she enters what we call the invisible squeeze. The number in her account is literally higher than ever, but she feels poorer. The vacations she planned are suddenly way out of budget. Cars cost twice as much. And then boom, we hit year 30, the tragic realization. She goes to retire, checks her massive nominal savings, and realizes the purchasing power just simply isn't there anymore. She did everything right, and yet she has been profoundly penalized. So here's the absolute kicker. After 30 decades, that invisible thief has quietly stolen 50% of Julia's total wealth. I mean, half of our purchasing power is entirely gone. Just let that sink in for a second.
She didn't make a bad stock pick. She didn't get scammed by some shady internet investment. She literally just let her money sit in what she got was a super safe vault. The stealth tax of inflation took half of her life's labor simply because she held on to cash and trusted that nominal illusion. And guys, here is why this matters so much. This isn't just Julia's story. If you've left cash sitting in a standard account for decades, this is your story too.
Section 3, Path B, Russell's fixed rate hack. Now let's look at the flip side and see how this builds into an entirely different, totally victorious outcome for someone named Russell. See, Russell understands the Dakota ring. He gets the difference between nominal and real numbers. So instead of being a victim to the invisible thief, he decides to completely flip the script. In Russell's strategy, check this out. His nominal mortgage payment stays exactly the same every single year. Let's just say it's $2,000. Year 1, it's $2,000. Year 15, $2,000. Year 30, still $2,000. But pay close attention to the real value of that payment over time. Because inflation is actively making the currency worth less, the actual burden, the real purchasing power Russell has to give up to make that exact same payment, gets smaller and smaller every single year. Russell has essentially hacked the system with this one brilliantly simple rule. Let inflation eat the debt. It's kind of genius when you think about it. Well, Julia was watching her savings, her hard-earned asset, melt away like an ice cube. Russell set up a system where his debt, his liability, is the thing doing the melting. He is using the exact same economic forces, the very same invisible thief that robbed Julia, but he's trapped that thief in a room with his mortgage. Inflation is out there actively working for him, eroding the real, true value of what he actually owes the bank.
Section 4, the great reveal, the stealth wealth transfer.
Now that we've seen both of these paths play out, we need to completely redefine what inflation actually is at its absolute core. We have got to stop looking at inflation as just some passive, unfortunate weather event in the economy. It is not just prices going up. No, it is a highly active, incredibly effective mechanical process that is literally moving money from one side of the table to the other. Just look at the stark contrast between these two paths. On one side, you have Julia, who is fundamentally punished for saving, and on the other side, Russell is richly rewarded for taking on fixed-rate debt. Guys, this isn't an accident. It's not a glitch in the matrix. The wealth that melted away from Julia's bank account didn't just vanish into thin air. Because the currency was devalued, debtors, like Russell, actually got to pay back their massive loans with cheaper, far less valuable dollars. And that brings us to the ultimate paradigm shift. It's a hard-hitting truth perfectly summarized right here. Inflation is a stealth tax that transfers wealth from savers to debtors. It's a massive, quiet conveyor belt of wealth. If you're sitting there in cash, you are the one paying that stealth tax, period. But if you hold fixed-rate debt on an appreciating asset, you are the one receiving the wealth transfer. You are legally, mathematically absorbing the exact purchasing power that the savers are losing. So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this lingering, vital question. Where do you sit in this equation? Seriously, take a look at your own finances. Are you holding on to a melting ice cube, trusting those nominal numbers while secretly paying a stealth tax? Or are you positioned to let the invisible forces of the economy eat away at your fixed liabilities? The rules of the game are out there, hidden in plain sight. And now that you've got the Dakota ring, well, it is entirely up to you how you play it. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I strongly encourage you to go take a very close look at your own numbers right now. See you next time.